Do we have to punt to win in 9 category leagues? Or in cat leagues in general. Do you have to punt?
I don't think so. And I tried it last year, and I'm not going to say I won't ever do it again, but I think it all depends on how your draft is unfolding, right? So I don't think anyone should go into a draft expecting to punt something unless you know how your league mates are going to draft. I think it's kind of hard to predict what they're going to do when the players are on the board because everyone makes those surprises. Like if Wemby jumps up in the first round, and if I'm sitting behind that guy, I'm be like, whoa, this is another guy that I wouldn't have anticipated to be on the board right now. That maybe that would have been off my board if Wemby didn't get picked there. So I do get it from a pure number standpoint. You're playing in 9 category leagues. Sometimes you're playing with 8. It always helps if you can reduce that number to 6. If you can dominate 6 categories very well, you don't have to worry about the 3 other ones. It's just the combination of punting, whether you have to go with correlation. So most guys that are getting, if you're punting rebounds, you're probably going to be punting blocks too. Like those big men do, if they're around the rim, that's what they do. Um, Same with 3-pointers. Like usually that's going to be coming from the guard spots. If you're fading 3-pointers, then there's probably going to be some element of fading assists as well. And that's kind of what I did with my big man lineup. I wound up having De'Aaron Fox last year be my anchor, which, he had a great season. That's probably the best pick I made on my team. Probably the only good pick I made on my team. But he also doesn't give you high end assists or high end points. He's kind of somewhere in that middle there. So yeah, I think punting just makes it harder to build the perfect roster. I get it from a strategic standpoint, worry about less, but I'd almost rather target the all-stars and the people that I know that are very good basketball players and working around that. Like I'm okay with waiting on blocks or rebounds to make sure I'm getting the high-end players in the first 3 rounds, and then I'll pivot the rest of my team strategy around that original build on those first 3 picks.
So talk to me about the pivot. Like, are there any signs, any indicators, maybe even player types and positions that you see going off of the board at a rapid pace that maybe you need to start developing a punt strategy in the middle of the draft?
Yeah, so I think in the first round, I think you'll see a lot of point guards and guards in general go. Points and assists are the hardest things to get on waivers as you get later into the season. So that's a point of emphasis that I would make is if you're drafting, I would try to target the points and assist guys first, and then build up those big men and other guys later as you go into your draft because you can find rebounds on waivers. You can find blocks. Drew Eubanks averaged over a block and some change last year, and he got serious minutes after Yusuf Nurkic was out. He came free. Mark Williams is a guy that emerged late in the season last year, who's probably going to get more minutes. He's definitely going to be drafted in leagues this year, but he's not going to be a high draft pick. He's not going to be going with the likes of Brooke Lopez, DeAndre Ayton, in those middle rounds. So you can get these guys late. Jalen Duren, another late guy that's going to be really solid for rebounds, field goal percentage, and blocks. So I would just say emphasize points and assists early, 3-pointers early. You can get those on waivers too, but I would try to get the guards that can do the most. And those are the Halliburtons, the Anthony Edwards, who's going to have a monster season. Honestly, even this might be a hot take, but I feel like Chris Paul is a guy that's going to fall way late in drafts that you'll be able to get. That even if he's coming off the bench in 20 minutes, he can still give you almost 7 assists and probably 13 points with a steal and really good peripherals. So, like, those are the guys that I'm looking to get rather than maybe a couple guys that like a Klay Thompson who just hits threes and scores points. But Klay hurts you in a lot of other areas. He doesn't shoot well from the field goal percentage. He doesn't really do much defensively anymore. He's kind of a shell of his old self. So, yeah, I would just focus on the points and assists early and then fall back on the blocks, rebounds as you go later on in drafts.